Hello everyone, my name's Dave and welcome to the YouTube channel Animar Animus, and I'm speaking with you today from the heart and seat of the soul, and this is the second part of the reading of Sleeping Beauty from this book, Climbing the Beanstalk from Anne Gad, the hidden messages found in best loved fairy tales. So thanks very much to Anne for letting me use her material, and thanks very much to Larry who gave me this book and many others. I appreciate that, guys. Thanks very much. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to this channel, likes and shares. That helps to keep me inspired. Thank you very much. So I'll read the second part of the Sleeping Beauty tale, which is starting from the mystical meaning of the story. The king and queen are barren. Again it is a story of lack. This time, though, it is not food or wealth that is missing, but a child. They have tried all manner of paths, as most of us do, without finding the riches we desire. In the Grimm's version, the frog delivers the news that a baby will be born. Frogs are phallic in that the tadpoles resemble sperm and are feminine in that they live in water. The young fetus also resembles a tadpole, linking it to fertility. The frog, then, is a harbinger of the fertility that is about to take place. The queen falls pregnant and at last they have a daughter. She is to be christened or have her birth celebrated depending on which version that you read. All the fairies in the kingdom are invited to be there and each brings a gift. The 7 godmothers stroke fairies represent the 7 chakras, and the gifts or perfections are what we receive with the purification or perfection of each chakra. Further details of the number 7 are covered in chapter 2 of this book. In the Grimm's version, there are 12 wise women invited, plus the 13th uninvited wise woman. 12 relates to many things: the number of stations on the clock, the 12 months of the year, the 12 zodiacal signs, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 apostles. The Rosicrucians list 12 virtues, being illumination, love, wisdom, truth, justice, peace, equilibrium, humility, faith, strength, joy, and victory, which relate to the 12 gifts given to the princess. Now, alchemists were said to use the 12 keys written by Basil Valentine in the 14th century, indicating how to prepare the philosopher's stone. 12 represents government because 3 is divine perfection, 7 is spiritual perfection, 10 is ordinal perfection, and 12 is governmental perfection. 12 is the product of 3 times 4. 3 is divine perfection, the Trinity found in many religions, while 4 is the number of the world or order, the 4 elements and creation. When these numbers are represented in 12, it indicates that it is our nature to be ruled by the divine, or the most enlightened shall rule, as opposed to rule by fool. If this 12 represents perfect government, then the addition of another number indicates something less than perfect has been added to it, which indicates rebellion, as the passage from the Bible conveys. 12 years they served Shed Ola Ome, Kedor Lamer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. Genesis 14:4-38. The 13th wise woman indicates the wise government of the king is to be upset in some way. In mathematics, the number 1 is not considered to be a true prime number. Rather, it is in a category all its own. If we then start the prime numbers with 2, 13 would be the 6th prime number. The number 6 just happens to be the number representing humanity. This indicates that it is human nature to rebel. not only from God, but against all forms of rule from the time of the fall. 13 is also the number of Satan, or the uninvited guest at a witch's rite. There's a further point of interest in that 13 is one of only 4 two-digit numbers, where both the number and its reversal are prime numbers, that is, 13 and 31. Now 13 represents rebellion, 31 is the number of the Almighty God, from whom we rebel. 1 representing all as one, the beginning, first, and 3, the Trinity. Also one of the names given to God in Hebrew is El, meaning the Almighty, the numeric value of which is 31, and the 31 chapters in Genesis or creation. There are also 12 signs of the zodiac, indicating the 12 signs we must pass through to complete a cycle of growth. There are 12 hours of daylight and 12 of darkness, and King Arthur had 12 knights at the round table. The Rosicrucian or Rose Cross has 12 stations, 3 at either end of the 4 sections of the cross, and 1 in the middle representing Christ or the enlightened being. In Revelations 22:239, the number 12 appears as representing the tree of life, and on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Consequently, we can see that there is a deep significance in the 12 wise women and the 13th uninvited one. That there is a curse placed on the innocent child who is to become a victim of her father's thoughtlessness is the first or the victim stage of the journey, while the assistance from the last fairy or wise woman relates to the second stage, help from the divine. Finding the small room at the top of the tower, which in the Grimm's version requires a key, has all the makings of the forbidden room as in Bluebeard. The key unlocks the mysteries of this taboo. In order to find our true path, we often have to step into forbidden religious territory. If we are raised a Mormon, for instance, and we feel an affinity for Buddhism, then turning our back on all we know and stepping into the unknown could be seen as transgressing what is expected of us and going into areas of our cultural and social taboo. Sleeping Beauty is pricked in her 15th year by the spindle. 15 is the number representing divine grace, 5 being the number of perfected man, and 3 of the Trinity representing God, 3 times 5. Or if we break it down according to the actual figures, 1 God, 5 perfected humanity. Then 1 also represents God perfected in humanity. The number 15 appears in the Bible in the story of Noah, who was saved by the divine grace of God alone. 18, and the waters prevailed, and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. 19, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 20, 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. Genesis 7:18, 20:40. 15 is Sleeping Beauty's age when the spindle pricks her. It indicates that divine grace is hers. For 15 being 1 and 5, Freudian follows may also see the spindle as phallic and indicative of her step into sexual maturity. The number 15 also appears in the number of minutes it takes for the hedge to grow, indicating that there is divine protection in the hedge itself, which you would need from all the would-be molesting princes. The Grimm's version has a number of suitors, princes die horribly on the thorns of the hedge. If thorns represent our karma, this could relate to the many whose accelerated karma on the divine path is too much to bear, and who die miserably in the attempt to make it back. The hedge is also a version of the impenetrable forest, a feminine symbol, where no light (masculine) can penetrate its density. The prince sets off on the third stage or quest to penetrate the hedge, both symbolically to penetrate sexually the princess, but also to penetrate into his own female psyche. As mentioned previously, some earlier versions have him having sex with the sleeping princess. In the mention of the fairy tale being 12,000 leagues away, a league is approximately 3 miles, and the dwarf getting to her with his 7-league boots that could walk 7 leagues in one step or at great speed. We have the 12 and 7 reappearing in the tale. 7-league boots appear in a number of European tales, such as some versions of Jack and the Beanstalk. These boots of speed relate to the winged sandals of the god Mercury. Fairies and dwarfs live on the astral plane, where there is no linear time, so they are able to travel at any speed they desire. Matterkins were little people or fairy folk. The dragons which pull the chariot represent the primordial enemy of humanity and were considered evil and loathsome beasts, except in China, where they have a benevolent meaning. They combine the symbolism of the snake and the bird, meaning matter and spirit. In alchemy, they are seen as volatile elements if they have wings, or fixed if they don't. They can also represent the chaos before the enlightened human comes and challenges the power of the dragon or the ego. The fairy has tamed the dragons and so indicates her state of power, or one who has conquered her ego and made it back. She makes everyone except the king and the queen go to sleep. Sleep is an indication of being unconscious, which we need to wake up to the fully conscious state of being. This is when the initiate withdraws from the world to discover their real self, apart from their personas, before they awaken to the true nature of themselves. We are born into forgetfulness in that we've forgotten our past lives. When we undergo initiations, we are made to let go of our lives as they have been up to that point, much as a nun is made to shave her hair, or a Hosha youth is made to burn all his old clothes. After the circumcision ritual, we are reminded of our true identity as divine spirits. We sleep in maya or illusion, unawakened to the true nature of our reality and ourselves, until we reach this point of our development. The prince going into the castle and finds that the thorns bloom into flowers or the hedge parts to allow him access. When the time is ready, the veils lift for us as they do in the mythical mist of Avalon or the veils of Isis to reveal beauty or truth. The united twin souls spend 4 hours together. The time is specified as 4 relates to harmony, discipline, and of matter itself. For example, it relates to the 4 directions north, south, east, and west. The 4 seasons, the 4 elements of earth, water, air, and fire. It is the number of creations being 3. 3 in one God, plus 1 being his creation. It may be relevant that it is in chapter 4 of Genesis that Adam and Eve have children. 1, and Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I've gotten a man from the Lord. 2, and again she bare his brother Abel. Genesis 4, 1-2, 41. This indicates then the divine union of the twin souls or 4th stage, and the fruit of the union. The Grimm's version ends here after they are married and crowned. 7th stage. There is no further mention of the 13th wise woman. However, Perrault's version continues with the prince surreptitiously avoiding telling his parents of his marriage and his children. In Talia, Sun and Moon, the prince is already married, and it is his wife who plays the role of the ogress from Perrault's version. Perrault no doubt altered this, feeling that the ladies of the French court would be unsympathetic towards a married prince who rapes a helpless princess and makes her pregnant. The names Sun and Moon refer to the masculine and feminine aspects that emerge from this holy union. Morning is translated from Perrault's l'aurore, which means dawn or morning, while day comes from the Sanskrit dar, meaning to burn, burn in brackets day relating to fire. The masculine principle then maintains the same meaning, while dawn is more obscure and cannot be said to represent the feminine holy. But the dawn gives birth to day. In some versions, such as Talia, Sun and Moon, the children are twins representing duality as well as twin souls. Another reference to the number 2 is the 2 years before the prince acknowledges his family to his parents. The prince says he was with a charcoal burner, a person who takes wood and makes charcoal from it. In other words, he is working with the elements of fire or change. The old queen or ogress tries at first to overcome the temptation to eat the children by sending them away, but her addiction to flesh overrides this better aspect of herself, and she quickly succumbs to her physical darker desires, which is just what the ego does. These desires want to consume and control everything. In ancient times, blood sacrifices had to be made to appease the gods. Blood, being the life force, allowed these gods to become more powerful, like Dracula and the vampires. They fed off the energy of the blood to empower themselves. Still today, we hear rumours of the ritual blood sacrifices in some African cultures. Satanists use blood for the same purpose. The ogre knows her power will increase the more she consumes the flesh of others, hence her lust for blood. The 6th stage of the journey comes before the 5th stage. In that, the princess queen must cross or go into the abyss, or pot filled with vile creatures and demons, such as the toads, serpents, and snakes, without the help of the king. As the tale suggests, it is a hazardous journey. Toads are loathsome creatures and are often kept by witches in folklore. They suggest death, the torments of the damned and demons, perhaps because of the toxic secretions they emit. Because of the fall, serpents have been linked to Satan, evil and the dark forces, and all that separates humanity from God. That old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, Revelations 12:9-42. The snake as such is a more neutral symbol, relating to healing and life force on the one hand, and as cold-blooded, venomous, and able to swallow other creatures on the other. In this context, though, the more negative aspects are suggested. The king, brackets prince, arrives unexpectedly, often while we're at our lowest ebb or darkest moments. Help arrives unexpectedly. The ego or ogress's true nature is revealed for all to see and disempowered. She falls to a befitting death. All that is left now is the final stage of Sleeping Beauty's journey, to rule in the kingdom of the divine. Now the summary, ladies and gents, as we all are, Sleeping Beauty is veiled in a state of unconsciousness as to her true identity. To truly connect with who we really are, we need to be awoken. The impenetrable head shows how difficult it can be to wake. Even when she does become both integrated and conscious, in some versions she must still undergo many tests before she can find true and lasting peace. Often we believe that to be conscious is to leave behind suffering. This is clearly not so. We must balance the scales before we can achieve this. And conscious or not, this still involves hardship, although we now have a deeper level of understanding. So that's the end of that one, ladies and gents. There are many more books written by Anne Gad, this being one of them, and can be found on social media, and definitely worth connecting with Anne to see what she's been doing of late and previous material. So thanks very much, Anne. Thanks very much, Larry. And thank you, ladies and gents, for tuning in today. And hopefully you got some insights from that for yourself, friends and family. In the near future, I'll be reading some more from Anne's book on the other fairy tales, and hopefully those will be of interest to you too. So take good care of yourselves. Have a nice day, and bye for now.